It's up for 5 awards at this year's Oscars, including some real biggies, a couple of acting nominations, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Picture of the Year. Let's talk about American Fiction. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film American Fiction. This is playing in theaters now, and this is one of the ones that kind of got nominated for Golden Globes and Oscars before a lot of people really got to see it. It was in very limited release up until about mid-January, and now it has been expanding ever since then. So you can probably see it now at the multiplex near you if you didn't catch it at one of the art houses where it was playing. And listen, this thing has already racked up a few different awards at some of the more localized film, like Critics Awards, for example. Seattle Film Critics Society, San Francisco Bay Area Film Critics Awards both chose Jeffrey Wright as Best Actor over Cillian Murphy and Paul Giamatti. So, an upset at the Oscars for Jeffrey Wright is possible. I know we all think maybe Cillian Murphy's got it in the bag, or, Paul Giamatti's been winning a few of the awards lately, but I don't know. I would not count Jeffrey Wright out for this. So look, before we launch into the specifics of the film, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here on the channel, and all the time I'm posting new things. Just about every day something new goes up. So there's always a lot to check out. Please consider subscribing, like this video, comment below, and join my Letterboxd. Follow me on that. The link is available in the description below. You can track all the movies I watch and what I rate them, sometimes even before I post on the site here. All right, so American Fiction, the basic plot here, and I said it was adapted screenplay. It's based on a book called Erasure from 2001. And so this movie follows a novelist slash professor named Thelonious, who goes by Monk, because, of course, Thelonious Monk, famous musician from back in the day. So his nickname is Monk, but Thelonious is his real name. And he is really struggling to connect both with his students and with the literary world. His last few books did not really light the world on fire. They're a little too heady. And he is, a very, very, sort of proper, thoughtful, intelligent professor, and the world wants him to dumb himself down for the masses. And faced with some horrible medical bills that he has to now consider, he agrees to actually do just that. He writes this book that is very, very satirical of stereotypical, quote-unquote black books. And it turns out that they want it to be published, and it ends up being a raging success. So he now has to deal with that, and hiding his identity as well. So a lot is going on in this movie, and that's really just a fairly basic premise. But part of the medical issues that he has to surmount is a lot to do with his family. His mother is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and his family is kind of scattered all over the place, kind of a mess. We have a huge cast of names and faces you will know. So Jeffrey Wright, I mentioned him as the star. You may not know him by name, but he's been in probably like 50 movies. Source Code is maybe the first time I saw him. He played sort of a voice anyway, Source Code, that's getting into the weeds too much with the story on that, with even who he is. But he was in a couple of the Hunger Games movies. Most recently he was in The Batman as Commissioner Gordon, so you may recognize him from that. But he's been in a ton of things. Tracee Ellis Ross plays his sister. She, of course, recently on Blackish and Girlfriends before that. Sterling K. Brown plays his brother. Of course, This Is Us is where he really, made his mark. But you also have, let's see, Issa Rae is here as a rival book author. And it's worth noting, by the way, Issa Rae starred in 3 movies in 2023, and all of them have been Oscar nominated for the Best Picture in their respective categories. So you have this. She was the president in Barbie, and then she also did a voice in Across the Spider-Verse, which is nominated for Best Animated Feature. So pretty good year for Issa Rae. Leslie Uggams plays the mother of the family, and you may know her. If you don't know her from way back, you may have been introduced to her in Deadpool. She plays the blind woman in Deadpool. So. And then there's, Adam Brody is here, Keith David, Erica Alexander, John Ortiz. So a lot of names and faces you're going to know. I love this movie. This is definitely worthy of the praise of, top 10 lists and, being among the Best Picture nominees. This is from first-time director Cord Jefferson, and he did not get a nomination in the directing category, but he also wrote the screenplay, so he was nominated there. And boy, what a first impression from this guy. He really, I think, has a very, very specific, story in mind and is going with it. There are a few nitpicks I could say about this movie, and I'll get into those maybe a little bit later. But this guy has really, the directing is pretty good, but the screenplay, man, is that sharp. This is so. I wouldn't necessarily call the movie satirical. But obviously the book that Monk writes is, sort of a satirical look at breaking down those stereotypes of your typical, black books. And it's funny because I just finished reading The Color Purple, because I wanted to watch or read the book before I saw the movie. And I did read it in high school, but I'd forgotten. That's been a long time ago. But when they were reading some of the passages from this book, and also from the Issa Rae character's book, I just thought, oh my God, like this is kind of what they're skewering here, and it's true. Like when you think of the, major African-American movies that have been nominated for Best Picture over the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years or more, it's a lot of movies about, slavery and, being poor and like all of these things that are really, I think, aiding in the stereotypical nature of the stories that Hollywood thinks people want to see. And look, a lot of them are really good. 12 Years a Slave is a great movie. There's no doubt about that. But there is something to be said for, okay, why don't we see a lot of intelligent black people on the screen? We don't very often. It's at least in prestige pictures. Maybe we do in some other dramas or whatever, but in these like Oscar bait prestige type movies, we just don't. Moonlight, I think, is one example where it sort of skewed that, and that ended up winning. So there are certainly exceptions, but yeah, I mean, the book that he writes in this movie is definitely, kind of sending up those notions. So I'm not sure if I would call the movie itself satirical, but his book certainly is. I think this movie is just a straight ahead dramedy, really. The family stuff definitely is really, really touching. Another thing I liked about it is the way they handled the Alzheimer's here. With the good and bad days, and Leslie Uggams performed that amazingly. I am not shocked that she didn't get nominated. It's a pretty crowded field for actresses and supporting actresses this year, but boy, she puts in a heck of a performance. And the other nominee, acting wise, other than Jeffrey Wright, is Sterling K. Brown. Let's talk about him for a second. My God, first of all, he came from This Is Us, like I said, so he is certainly no stranger to the family drama issues, but he actually is possibly one of the comic relief characters of this movie because he is, like a party boy. He's drug fueled. He's just hot off a divorce because he's gay and was married to a woman, so that blew up. And so he's kind of dealing with his own little universe and can barely even be bothered with, helping out with the mother. And so, it's left to Monk. And boy, the dovetailing of the comedy and the drama here, it's just wonderful. And I think we see that in a lot of, the best movies out there. This was laugh out loud at times and heartbreaking at others. Erica Alexander, by the way, plays a girlfriend that Monk kind of meets and is courting but they start having issues when his secret identity is kind of too much for him to handle, let's say. And the white people in this movie, I think if I had one thing to say that this maybe is more satirical than just a straight ahead comedy, is the white people in this movie at the book publisher and at the movie studio are definitely like the over the top, but the reason I don't even say that's satirical is because I do think it's still pretty realistic. Like, falling all over themselves to, be a part of this guy's world. And, Monk has to appear, kind of as a thug, to sort of get them to take him seriously. It's funny, but it is, I think, what might happen in these types of situations, and that's why I don't even say it's satirical. Adam Brody, at some point, I think will stop playing the douchey white boy. It ain't in this movie. He will not stop playing it in this movie, but at some point, maybe. And I'm going through the OC old episodes of that too, because I've never seen it all the way through. And so seeing young Adam Brody, but every movie he pops up in, he's like the douche, on the outside of what's what's real and what an intelligent person would think and all of that. So but he plays it great here, and his character is written very well. So in terms of criticisms, I do just have a couple of small ones. There are multiple endings to this, which I won't talk about for spoiler's sake, really. But I'm not sure how much I loved that aspect of it, because some of the things are left a little bit unclear with that. And I think maybe I would have enjoyed a little more with the Issa Rae character. I don't think we got enough with her, and I think there was a little bit more to explore there. But other than that, look, this is a very worthy movie of all of the nominations. The other one, by the way, the fifth nomination I haven't mentioned yet, is the score. And I think the score is certainly very interesting and very much in keeping in theme with whether we're doing drama right here or whether this is a more comedic tone. I think the score fits that very well. So I agree with that nomination as well. I don't really think it was necessarily snubbed from any nominations. I think the five that it got are appropriate for it. And for me, this is definitely top of the pack. Or top half of the pack, I should say, for the 10 nominees. There's still two I need to see. But for me, American Fiction gets an A. I strongly recommend seeing it before the awards. I don't think it'll probably end up winning anything unless maybe Jeffrey Wright or the adapted screenplay can kind of sneak in there. But very, very worthy of a watch. I enjoyed it very much. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It, and we'll see you next time. Bye.